I won't be surprised if price even gives a deeper pullback into here, right? Because this is the most recent zone it actually broke above. That was my bias last week on DXY, and price is beginning to align to my analysis. Now let's dive into the chart and look at what we should be looking at next week. DXY finally has moved. I was expecting for price to either move up or at least give us the pullback after consolidating for weeks right now, because we're on the weekly time frame, right? You can see obviously how price has been moving sideways before this significant drop. So for next week, I'll be expecting price to continue lower, at least until we come into the 104.269 area. And if we take that out, then I'll be looking at this trend line below. But for next week, one thing I know for sure is price is going to continue bearish. Now let's go to the daily time frame and see what's happening on the daily time frame. The daily time frame pretty much looks like the weekly time frame. Price is coming to this zone. I tell you for free, price is coming into 104.269 like I mentioned earlier. And if we break below that zone, then we are coming into this trend line, just like I showed you on the weekly time frame. So now that we've seen what is happening on dollar index, now that we've established the fact that price is going down, let's look at some dollar pairs, starting with Euro USD. Now Euro USD, first of all, want to see how we closed for last week, right? Last week price was trading around here, and I was like hoping for price to come into this zone, right? The price tapped into that zone last 2 weeks, fell back, but it didn't drop the way I was expecting it to drop. All right, and now price looks to be pushing back up. So for the fact the price is trading above the 1.07073 area, then I'll be looking for price to come into the 0.5 fib level on the weekly time frame. The 0.5 fib level, you can see how I plotted it from the recent swing high to the recent swing low. So this pullback, I would like to see price come into the 0.5. Then we see what happens next from there. Are we going to drop from there? I don't know. Or are we going to continue higher? I don't know. But for next week, one thing I know for sure is we are going to continue higher. Then if we go to the daily time frame, on the daily time frame, if you watch last week's video, I told you that I will not be taking any trades as long as price remains within these two zones here, 1 and 2, right? That I want to see either of two things happen. Either we take out this zone below before I continue trading downward, or we create a new higher high breaking above this zone. For me to be able to swing this again, price has to take out either of these zones. So now price chose to go higher. Right now we've created a new higher high here, which is obviously higher than this higher high here. So for next week, I'll be expecting a little pullback before we continue higher. So my next target on Euro USD for now, my bullish target for Euro USD for now is this 0.5 area here, or this zone that has been tested multiple times if we look left. That's my next target should price continue higher. But one thing I know for sure, you know I keep saying this, one thing I know for sure is price is going to continue higher on Euro USD. Let's look at the 4-hour time frame. Now, before I continue with the 4-hour time frame, towards the middle of last month, I stopped trading when I discovered that price was consolidating. Of course, I did make some money within this zone on my prop firm account, not on my swing account, since it's not suitable for swinging, right? So I did make some money, but I got bored and I just decided that, okay, let me allow price either break below here or break above here. However, some of my students, they've been sending me screenshots of their profits, and before I continue, guys, I want to let you understand, you probably must have heard this before. Trading unveils your true self, right? I'll say that again. Trading unveils your true self. So for somebody like me, I'm a very, very conservative trader, right? So I could see some trade and I'll be like, okay, let me still be on the sideline because I want a perfect entry, right? However, the same thing I taught in the course, the same rule, the same strategy, some of my students actually implemented it on this trade here. Quite okay, I saw the setup, I saw the entry, but because we were still within the range, I decided against taking the trade. I just wanted to see price take out either this resistance above or this support below, right? This is basically what I have taught in the course, and I've also mentioned this in on this channel. I mean, price dropped into this place, bounced off, came back, gave this massive rejection, giving us a double bottom. If you've not seen my double bottom video, watch this video right now. All right, so when this massive rejection happened and closed, I should have gotten into the trade here, but because I have decided against trading within this zone, I stayed on the sideline. And shout out to my students that actually took this trade, and congratulations on your profit. All right, but anyways, I didn't take the trade because I was just tired of this range. I wanted to see a new higher high or a new lower low, but in this case we now have a new higher high. All right, obviously here this is the new higher high, which is obviously higher than this, higher than this, higher than this, and even higher than this, right? So obviously price is creating new higher highs, new higher lows, new higher highs, new higher lows, and now we have a new higher high. I talk about market structure all the time on this channel. So now that we have a new higher high, next week or for the early part of next week, I would like to see price at least pull back from this region. All right, maybe around here. Remember I said I know for a fact that price is going to continue higher. So how do we join this trade now? So for someone like me that is not already in this trade, so I would like to see price pull back into here, then it is inside here. I would like to catch a trade to the upside here. All right, or I'll wait for price to take out this zone. Should price fail to come below here, I'll wait for price to take out this zone, then come back for a pullback before we continue higher. So my initial target on Euro USD for now is 1.086000. But don't worry, since you're on the Telegram channel, I'll be sending out signals when I get into this trade. So if you are not subscribed to the channel already, the link is in the description of this video down below. Do yourself a favor and don't miss out on my trade calls. All right, so Euro USD for next week, I am bullish. Let's check out GBP USD. GBP USD pretty much looks like Euro USD. If you watch my analysis from 3 or 4 weeks ago, I plotted this zone here and I told you that price will most likely find it difficult breaking below this zone here. Why? Simply because price has tested this area multiple times historically. So that was why I knew when price was coming lower here, I knew that it would be difficult for price to break below here. However, I was expecting price to actually crack that zone. That was my original bias. I wasn't expecting a bounce off. But the most important thing is I was aware that this could happen. So should price continue higher, I have this trend line up above that price may be coming back to retest before we trade all the way to the downside. All right, so on the monthly time frame, this trend line will be my target. Now let's go to the weekly time frame. Let's check out how we closed for the week. Obviously you can see the massive bullish engulfing candle with which we closed for last week. So just like the Euro USD, I'll be expecting price to continue pushing until we come into the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level. All right, that will be my initial target. Now if we go to the daily time frame, we'll see things better, or we'll see things clearly. Remember I predicted this collapse from the top here, from around here to the downside, and now on the daily time frame we've created a new higher high, breaking above these areas here, right? So I will expect price to continue higher. So if we come into this area, we may now push lower, but if this zone cracks, then we'll continue trading to the upside. But for next week, I'll be expecting a continuous push to the upside, at least until we come into 1.25975 area, which is the 0.5 fib level. Now let's check out the 4-hour time frame. So the 4-hour time frame, just like Euro USD, clearly we've created a new higher high here. So for next week, if I see a pullback like this, then I will trade to the upside here. All right, but one thing I know for sure is that price is going to continue higher next week. So for next week, GBP USD, I am bullish. Now next on my list is JPY Index. JPY Index is clearly in a downtrend. Double top, neckline broken, price is clearly pushing to the downside. And check out this weekly candle because we are on the weekly time frame. So check out this weekly bearish engulfing candle that we have here. But historically on JPY Index, we don't have any targets we can actually look at. But we know that we are clearly in a downtrend, and last week we can obviously see the bearish momentum with which we closed for the week, right? So now with that in mind, let's look at GBP JPY. GBP JPY, you can clearly see the bullish engulfing candlestick with which we closed last week. Let's see what we look like on the monthly time frame. So on the monthly time frame, looking at the monthly time frame, I'll be expecting price to push all the way up into this zone here, this zone around 194.092. So on the weekly time frame, you can clearly spot this bullish engulfing candlestick. So I'll be expecting continuous push to the upside, at least until price comes into this zone here to align perfectly with this area if you look left. On the daily time frame, just like what we saw on GBP USD, now on GBP JPY, price has created a new higher high on the daily time frame, right? Because between this zone to this zone, price looks to be pushing lower, making us think that we're going to continue to the downside, right? But now you can clearly see that we've created a new higher high, a new higher low, and a new higher high around here. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame. But before I go to the 4-hour time frame, I'll be expecting price to come into 186.463. 186.463. But let's go to the 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, like I said, I'll be expecting to see price push all the way up into this zone. But if you are not already in this trade, then I'll just draw a zone here and hope that price gives us a pullback into this zone before we continue higher. Let me use an arrow instead of this mark here. Let me use an arrow. So I'd like to see a pullback into this zone before we push all the way to the upside. Let's see if we have a fib retracement level aligned perfectly with that zone. All right. So the fib level we have aligned with that zone is the 0.382 fib level. Well, I'm going to delete that fib level and just leave a clean chart here. So we have a new higher high. So I'd like to see a pullback into this zone before we continue higher. That is GBP JPY from my point of view. So now let's go to US oil. On US oil, let's go to the weekly time frame. To be honest, if you've been watching my videos, my expectation was for price to come into this zone, give me a pullback before we push all the way to the upside. However, price didn't do that. Instead, price has broken below this zone here. Now, guys, let me let you into something. Now, in trading, you may have a zone, right? And maybe your plan is, let's say price is trending upward and then we break above that zone. Then you are expecting for price to come into this zone to give you a buying opportunity, right? That was what you were looking out for. But instead of price doing this, price now falls below your zone. Now, do you force trades? No, you don't. All right, that is why you should have a rule-based execution strategy. If not, you are just going to be placing pending orders and you are going to be blowing your account. So in trading, we always anticipate a particular price movement to play out, but we can't control that, right? We can only anticipate, but we can't control if it will actually happen exactly the way you want it to play out, right? In some cases, it doesn't play out as planned, right? So why should you force trades? Now, I see many people do this. They may be like, okay, as price is approaching this resistance, I want to sell from this resistance. And then price fails to give an entry reason and price blasts above that resistance. Now you see them, they still want to sell from here. No, you don't do that. All right, you can't sell from here anymore. Two things you should do in this scenario now is to just wait for price to pull back into that zone and buy instead of forcing yourselves. All right, so you can either do that, you can either switch from being a seller into a buyer, or just stay out of the trade until it makes sense to you. Now, that is what I usually do. I stay out of the trade. So, for instance, if I wanted to sell when price approach this resistance, and instead of giving me an entry reason to sell, price just blast above my resistance, then I don't force trades anymore. I don't start selling from the top here. That would be me forcing trades. And you can't afford to do that because you can't go against the market. You are going to keep blowing accounts trading this way. So you get the point. Now let's go back to the analysis. So I was expecting for price to like give us an entry here, which it did for some time, but price still came back down and broke below that zone. Now, if we go to the daily time frame, you discover that we've now seen a change in market structure. If you can't see that from this zone, price was creating new higher highs and higher lows, right? Price was clearly bullish, but now we have a lower low, a lower high, and a new lower low here. All right, and we've gone back for a retest. So I'll be expecting for price to continue pushing to the downside, at least until we come into one of these trend lines. In case you can't spot the trend line, let me zoom out my chart so that you can see where these trend lines are coming from. So the first one, I actually plotted it on the weekly time frame from here. Then I made sure I captured here, and then I'm expecting a third touch to that trend line here. And if I zoom back in, this red trend line here was actually plotted on a much lower time frame. So basically I captured here 1, 2, and then I projected it into the future. So for next week, with the way we closed for last week on the US oil, I'll be expecting a continuous push to the downside, at least until we come into around 75, or let me say $76.27 per barrel on the US crude oil. Let's check out the 4-hour time frame. So on the 4-hour time frame, we already have solid bearish engulfing candle. So I would like to see something like this play out. But it's a poor reward to risk ratio. So if you could be patient enough for price to at least give us a decent pullback, at least into this area, but our stop loss should be around here, right? Then give us a decent pullback into this area, then we could jump into the trade and get a solid 2.7 to 1 reward to risk ratio on this trade. Well, all I'm trying to say in a nutshell is US oil, I am bearish for the incoming week. Now, next on my list is GBPAUD. You may be wondering, I don't analyze GBPAUD a lot, but there's something I want you to spot on the daily time frame. But before we do that, let's go to the monthly time frame on GBPAUD. So GBPAUD on the monthly time frame is still quite choppy. We are clearly in an uptrend. In case you are wondering what I mean by uptrend here, I mean price around here to here was a clear downtrend, but now we blasted up to the upside. We've created a new higher high here, which is obviously higher than this. However, price has given us a pullback. I was expecting this pullback, then a rally to the upside, but with price stalling the way it is, if we go to the weekly time frame, you can see that we've seen multiple weeks of bearish price action. However, we are yet to create a new low. So technically we are still in an uptrend, just like we saw on the monthly time frame. Coming down to the weekly time frame, we are still clearly in an uptrend. All right, we've not created a new lower low on the weekly time frame. Now let's check out the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, we've also not clearly created a new lower low. So what I want to call your attention to is the possibility of this head and shoulders pattern playing out. For this to play out perfectly, we need to create a new lower low. Remember, from the monthly time frame, the weekly time frame, we've not created a new lower low, right? Also on this daily time frame, yes, you could argue that this is a low, lower high, lower low, which you will still be correct, right? But the higher time frame controls what happens on the lower time frame, right? So time will not permit me to go into all of that. If you want to master that, then if you are on the mentorship program, you know what I'm talking about. And if you are not, do yourself a favor and purchase any of our mentorship programs. But let's continue. Now we have a head and shoulders pattern forming. It's not fully formed yet, but for this to be fully formed, then price has to come down here to give us a new lower low. Now guys, if I see a new lower low here, then I will now know for a fact that price is going to continue all the way to the downside here. if we can create a new lower low here, then this head and shoulders pattern is now fully active, and then price is going to fall to the downside. But what I'll advise you to do on this daily time frame is to just wait for price to actually take out that zone. If we are going to continue lower, wait for price to take out that zone. Let's see that lower low created on the daily time frame. Then you can now go to the lower time frame, like the 4-hour time frame or the 15 minutes time frame. Wait for that pullback into at least maybe this area here. All right, wait for that pullback into that area. After almost have broken clean of this zone, wait for that pullback. You can now switch to the lower time frame when price approaches this zone to catch an entry and ride all this space to the downside. So GBP AUD, I don't even know if I'm bullish or bearish for now, but if we create a new lower low, I am bearish. All right, if we can create a new lower low, I am bearish. So let's check out the 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, price is clearly bearish. All right, clearly bearish. I'm even seeing more bearish side of things than the bullish side of things. So if we continue bullish, then I'm not in this trade until we come into certain areas, right? But for now, I'm focused on the bearish side of things. So GBP AUD, this is my view for now. Now gold, I have nothing interesting to actually say on gold, because gold is acting like it has a mind of its own right now. I mean, look at this. Last week we've successfully closed last week with a red candle, which is a sign of weakness after this initial bullish spike to the upside. Now coming to the daily time frame, I know that I have been telling you that I'm expecting a pullback into this zone, then before we continue into 2074 area, right? But with the way price is stalling here, guys, I'm not so much interested in gold for now, because price may just drop down into this zone before we continue higher. And of course, price may also just continue pushing higher from where it is right now. But because of this weakness that I can obviously spot around here, I'm being skeptical with gold now. So for next week, I'll only be focused on Euro USD and maybe GBP USD, but mostly Euro USD, because I like what I'm seeing on Euro USD at the moment. So gold for now, I'm on the sidelines. So let me know in the comment section your gold buyers for the incoming week. However, for the month, this new month, I'm expecting gold to close bullish. Don't get me wrong, I'm expecting gold to close bullish, especially considering the way we closed for last month. So I'm expecting gold to close bullish, but before we go bullish, we could get a pullback and all of that. I'll be keeping an eye on it, and if anything changes next week, I'm going to point that out in our next analysis. So there you have it, guys, the analysis for the incoming week. But before I go, guys, once again, if you are willing to participate in the free signal, it's going to be kicking off next week, since price is beginning to do what I've been waiting for it to do all this while. The link to the signal group or the signal channel is in the description of this video down below. All right, that's our official Telegram channel. And also, if you want to master how to do these stuffs on your own, this analysis, trade executions, and all of those good stuffs, then do yourself a favor, visit letstrade10x.com today and purchase any of our mentorship programs and watch your struggles with trading change for the better. Thanks for staying to the end of this video, and if you are not yet subscribed to our channel, please do so now. And I wish you a successful trading week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.